Okay, so imagine this. You walk into a test engineer interview, and you just know you're going to nail it. You're confident and ready to impress.
Yeah.
That's what we're focusing on in this deep dive.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to use RoleCatcher's resources to do that.
Okay, cool.
Their career guides, all their sample questions, and even some of their AI tools to help give you that edge in becoming a test engineer.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty hot job market right now.
Yeah, for sure.
A test engineer, they make sure that everything's working right.
Yeah.
They're the guardians of quality, making sure that systems work smoothly from the very beginning, like the design phase all the way to when you actually have a finished product.
Oh, I like it. Guardians of Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. So if you are preparing for this interview,
Right.
where do you even start?
So RoleCatcher actually has this super cool AI tool that's kind of like having your own personal interview strategist. It analyzes job descriptions to see how well your resume matches up with what they're looking for. And it even suggests answers that you can use like tailored to the job you're applying for.
That's kind of like a cheat code.
Yeah.
But even with AI, you still need to know the questions.
Yeah, you can't just rely on the AI. You've got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's where RoleCatcher's interview guide is really helpful.
Okay.
It's full of like sample questions that they break down by experience level. And, they give you tips on what the interviewer is really looking for.
Let's dive into some of those questions then.
Okay, let's do it.
Where should we start?
All right, well, let's start with like a really common one. How would you describe the role of a test engineer?
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty basic question.
Yeah.
Even for an entry-level position.
Yeah, you're going to get asked this one, but it's really important to answer it well.
Yeah.
Because the interviewer is using this to see if you actually understand, what a test engineer does.
So don't just give them like a textbook definition.
Yeah, don't do that. You got to go a little bit deeper. Think about, what does a test engineer do every single day? They plan tests, they execute them,
Okay.
they look at the data, they analyze it, they report their findings.
Right.
And, they're basically a champion for quality and safety through the whole development process.
Okay, so how would you tailor this answer for someone who's maybe going for a more senior position?
Yeah, so that's where RoleCatcher's career stages section is really helpful.
Okay.
They break down the different levels from junior to mid-level to senior, all the way up to like principal test engineer.
Oh.
And they give examples of like what those people actually do in those roles.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, so you can show the interviewer that you know where you fit in.
Okay, so we nailed that first question. What's next?
Let's move on to another one. What software testing methodologies have you used?
Okay.
So this is a good one because it lets you talk about your experience
Yeah.
and show off like all the different methodologies you've worked with, like agile, waterfall, all that good stuff.
So you're not just listing off a bunch of names.
Right, you have to go deeper.
Yeah.
Think about specific projects where you use those methodologies.
Okay.
Like describe the project
Yeah.
and explain why you chose that specific methodology, and then talk about the results you got.
Okay, so show them that you've actually used these methodologies.
Right. Don't just tell them,
Yeah.
show them that you've lived them.
Got it. So always tie it back to like real examples and the impact you've had.
Exactly.
Okay. So what else, what other kind of mid-level question might you see?
How about this one? Describe a time you identified and resolved a challenging defect.
Okay.
So this is a chance to really show off your problem-solving skills.
So that's where the STAR method would be really good, right?
Yes. Situation, task, action, result. You got it.
Okay.
So you're going to set the scene,
Yeah.
explain the situation you were in, the task, you were responsible for the actions you took, and then the awesome results you achieved.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to talk about, the challenges you faced and how you overcame them, because that shows that you're resilient and resourceful.
Yeah. It's like telling a detective story.
Exactly.
You're the hero.
Saving the day.
So we talked about identifying defects, but what about making sure that your tests are really comprehensive in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm sure they'd want to know that.
Yeah, they might ask something like, how do you ensure your tests are comprehensive?
Okay. And what does comprehensive actually mean in this context?
So it means you're testing all the important parts of the software.
Okay.
You're not just testing like one little piece of the puzzle.
Right.
You're making sure the whole thing fits together.
Okay.
So when you answer this question, you want to walk them through your process.
Okay.
How do you prioritize your testing efforts?
Yeah.
What metrics do you use to know when you're done?
Oh.
You want to show them that you have a system.
Yeah.
And that you're not just like randomly testing things, that
Right.
you're thorough.
Yeah.
You have attention to detail.
And I'm sure working with developers is a really big part of this role as well.
Oh, yeah. It's super important.
So how would you address that in the interview?
Well, they might ask something like, how do you collaborate with developers on defect resolution?
Okay.
And remember, it's not just about finding the bug and then throwing it over the wall to the developer.
Right.
It's about working together.
Yeah.
It's about communication.
Teamwork.
Teamwork, exactly.
Mm.
You want to highlight how you communicate those defects,
Okay.
how you prioritize them, and how you work with the developers to find a solution.
Okay, so it sounds like building those relationships and being a team player is really important.
Yeah, for sure. You're all working towards the same goal,
Yeah.
which is a high-quality product that everyone's proud of.
Right. Okay, so we've covered some great questions there.
Yeah.
But before we jump into the more challenging ones that you might see in a senior level interview, I want to know, how does RoleCatcher's AI actually help you tailor your answers for different roles?
Yeah, so what's really cool about their AI is that it can look at job descriptions and it finds the key words,
Okay.
the skills they're looking for. So
Yeah.
you're not just giving like a generic answer.
Right.
You're using the language that's specific to that company and that job.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Okay, so it feels like we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah. There's a lot more to unpack.
We haven't even talked about those senior level questions yet, so we'll have to save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Awesome, thanks.
Okay, so welcome back. We covered some of those like basic test engineer interview questions.
Yeah.
You ready for some of the tougher ones?
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
Okay, good. So in those senior level interviews,
Yeah.
they really want to see that you're always learning and growing.
Right, because this field is constantly changing.
Exactly. So you got to keep up.
Okay.
And they'll probably ask you something like, how do you stay up to date with new testing tools and techniques?
So you can't just like read a blog post every now and then, right?
No, you got to be more proactive than that.
Okay.
Think about like professional organizations you belong to,
Okay.
conferences you go to,
Right.
online courses you've taken,
Yeah.
maybe anything that shows you're serious about learning.
So just listing them off isn't enough, right?
No, you got to give examples, like
Yeah.
specific examples
Okay.
of new tools or techniques that you've learned.
Right.
And then even more importantly, how you've actually used those
Okay.
in your work.
So it's not just about knowing what's new.
Right.
It's about how you've actually used it to
Exactly.
like get better at what you do.
Yeah. And, you know, RoleCatcher talks a lot about this in their career guide.
Okay.
They're big on like continuous learning.
Right.
And they suggest things like getting certifications or
Yeah.
taking like specialized courses to really deepen your knowledge.
Okay, cool. So speaking of leveling up your career,
Yeah.
I bet they also want to know how you think about scalability,
Oh, for sure.
especially for like a senior level role.
Yeah. Yeah. So get ready for a question like, how do you ensure your tests are maintainable and scalable?
Okay. So that sounds pretty technical.
It is.
What does that even mean?
So basically, it means you need to design your tests in a way that they can handle growth.
Okay.
Like as the software changes and gets bigger,
Right.
your tests still need to work.
Okay.
So think about things like modular design, reusable components, clear documentation,
Okay.
anything that makes your tests easy to maintain and change over time.
Got it. So it's not just about like
Yeah.
building something that works right now.
Right. It's got to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Like you're building for the future.
Okay. So it's like having a long-term vision
Yeah,
for
exactly.
how those tests are going to work.
And you should definitely talk about your experience with this. You
Well-
know, have some examples ready
Yeah.
of how you've tackled scalability in the past.
Okay. So we've talked about some pretty technical questions,
Yeah.
but what about like weaknesses
Oh, yeah.
or skills gaps?
That's a good point.
Like, what if you know you're not perfect in every area?
Well, RoleCatcher has these awesome skill guides.
Okay.
They break down all the essential skills for test engineers,
Okay.
and their AI can actually look at your resume and point out where you might need to improve,
Oh, wow.
or maybe skills that you have that you're not really highlighting enough.
So it's kind of like having an extra set of eyes on your resume
Yeah, exactly.
to make sure you're showing off your best self.
And don't forget about those soft skills.
Right.
Things like communication, collaboration, problem solving.
Right.
RoleCatcher talks about those a lot too.
They are important.
Yeah, you need those skills to really thrive as a test engineer.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So how do you showcase those in an interview?
Well, you got to weave them into your answers.
Okay.
Like when you're talking about that challenging defect you solved,
Right.
don't just focus on the technical stuff.
Okay.
Talk about how you communicated with the developers,
Yeah.
how you collaborated with them to find a solution, how you maybe had to like patiently explain something really complex.
So tell a story
Exactly.
instead of just saying, I have good communication skills.
Right. You got to show them.
Okay. Awesome. So we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Technical questions, soft skills.
Yeah.
even how RoleCatcher's AI can help you.
Right.
But there's one more thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
It's their answer feedback feature.
Oh, tell me more.
So imagine you've practiced your answers,
Yeah.
but you're not really sure if they're good enough.
Right.
Well, RoleCatcher lets you record yourself answering those questions.
Oh.
And their AI analyzes your responses
Wow.
and gives you feedback.
So it's like having a mock interview, but with AI.
Exactly.
That is so cool.
And the best part is it's tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
Wow.
So the feedback is super relevant.
Okay, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I am so impressed with RoleCatcher.
Yeah. It's a really great resource.
But remember, it's not going to do all the work for you.
Right.
You still have to prepare.
Preparation is key.
You got to use these tools to your advantage.
Okay, this has been so insightful.
Yeah.
I feel like we've learned so much about how to prepare for a test engineer interview.
They've covered a lot.
We have, but I feel like we've only just begun to explore what a test engineer career can really be like.
Yeah, you're right.
So in the final part of our deep dive,
Right.
we're going to talk about that career trajectory.
Yeah, from entry level all the way up to the top.
How excited.
Me too.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our test engineer deep dive. We've talked about acing those interview questions, showcasing your skills, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But now let's zoom out and talk about like the bigger picture, your career as a test engineer.
Yeah, that's where things get really exciting. Because this field, there's a ton of room to grow. You can start at an entry-level position and work your way all the way up to leadership roles.
And RoleCatcher does a great job of laying that all out for you.
Yeah, they have this whole section on career stages, and it's like a roadmap for your career. Shows you the steps you can take to get where you want to go.
So it's not just about getting the job.
Right.
It's about knowing where that job can take you.
Exactly. And they break down the different levels, junior, mid-level, senior principal, test engineer. They even have like real-world examples of people in those roles, so you can see what it actually looks like to be a test engineer at each level.
Oh, I love that. It's like getting a glimpse into the future of your career.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see like the skills you need to develop and the experiences you need to gain to move up to that next level.
So for example, like what would a junior test engineer be doing?
Well, they'd be helping out with tests, executing them, analyzing the results, things like that.
Okay.
And then as you move up to mid-level, you start taking on more responsibility, like designing test plans, collaborating with developers, maybe even mentoring some of the junior team members.
So it's not just doing more of the same stuff.
No, you're getting more challenging tasks.
Right.
You're expanding your skill set.
And then what about when you get to that senior level?
Well, then you're probably leading projects, evaluating new technologies, making decisions about the overall testing strategy for the team.
So there's a lot of room to like really make an impact.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And RoleCatcher, they give you tips on how to get there. They suggest things like getting certified. There's the ISTQB certified tester. That's a popular one.
Right.
Or contributing to open source projects. That's a great way to build your portfolio.
Yeah, show off your skills.
Exactly. They also talk about networking, going to industry events, connecting with people on LinkedIn.
So it's all about taking charge of your career.
Right. Being proactive.
And don't forget about RoleCatcher's AI.
Oh, yeah. That can help you along the way, too.
Yeah, it can analyze your skills, see where you
RoleCatcher.
might have some gaps.
And even suggest learning resources.
So it's like your own personal career coach.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so whether you're just starting out or you're aiming for that top spot,
Right.
remember preparation is key.
Absolutely.
RoleCatcher gives you the tools you need, the knowledge you need to really shine in that interview.
And don't forget about those soft skills.
Right. Communication, teamwork, all that good stuff.
Those are important at every level.
Yeah, so show them off.
Exactly.
Okay, this deep dive has been amazing. I feel like we've learned so much.
Me too. It's been a lot of fun.
But here's one last thing for you to think about. As you go on this test engineer journey,
Okay.
what kind of impact do you want to make? Like, what do you want to be known for in the tech world?
That's a good question.
Yeah, think about that as you're, going through this process. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way.
Good luck out there.
Thanks for joining us.